All right, y'all. Another video from Ashley Inc. on TikTok. The title is Spooky, Scary Story Time. I feel like that could have been a lot smoother of a title. But anyway, I befriended a hip hop artist who practiced the dark arts. Now, as always, I don't know if this story is true or not. I don't know. So for those of you who do not know how she operates, she has this email and people email her stories and she reads through those stories and she picks the stories that are most interesting to her. A lot of those stories have spiritual implications, which is why I am interested in listening to them. But like I said, I don't know if it's true or not, but I wouldn't be surprised if they are. All right. So there's my disclaimer. Let's get into it. 103,000 likes. I think it has over 1 million views. Let's see exactly what all the hype is all about with this story.
Story time about a girl who befriended a hip hop artist who was practicing some kind of dark art or dark magic to further her success. Now, before I start the story, the last time I posted a story about a hip hop artist that sold their soul, that story time, World Star stole it and tried to pass the video off as their own. So World Star, you do not have permission to use this video. Okay, now that that's out of the way, I got a story. I'm a girl who wanted to be called Tia, and Tia was friends with this girl from high school who somehow was like involved in the hip hop scene. Like she was kind of a groupie. No shame, no hate. I don't know her backstory, okay? But this girl from her high school messages her one day on Insta and she's like, hey, do you want to go to the show with me? I am seeing one of the opening acts. The headliner was this female artist, singer, rapper, dancer. She said she didn't want to reveal who it was because she was worried about this getting back to her. This girl is definitely not like A-list, but she is definitely somebody if you're familiar with like internet trends and music at all. Like I said, her and her friend go to the show. They had VIP passes because, like I said, her friend was sleeping with the opening act. After the show ended, they go into the after party. It was an end of tour party because the show was ending and the tour was ending and it was in the same city that they were from. So because it was the last end of the tour, there was this big after party, whatever. As they walk into the after party, security takes their phones. They're like, no recording, no pictures. You know, you'll get your phones back. Drinking, there's dancing, all kinds of things. And her friend wants to go on the tour bus of the guy that she's hooking up with. And so she checks on Tia and she's like, are you cool? Like, I'm going to go with him for a little bit. And Tia's like, yeah, I'm having a good time, whatever. She's talking to people. She's a social butterfly, so she's fine. At this point, the main artist was not at the after party yet, but she walked in at one point and the whole room kind of went silent when she walked in. She said she had this like aura about her. She was wearing this long black coat. She was wearing red tinted sunglasses, even though it was night. And she was surprised because this woman was like much smaller in person than she expected her to be. But she kind of just glided into the room. And then, you know, everyone kind of went back to what they were doing. At this point, Tia's made friends with a couple girls that are also there. And they're all just talking and laughing and hanging out and dancing. She said she was kind of starstruck by this woman's presence, but she wasn't going to go over there and like talk to her. Like it's her after party. She didn't want to be weird. So she's just having a good time with these girls. And at one point, this woman, this artist, walks over to their group and she taps Tia on the shoulder and she's like, I love your jacket. Where did you get it? Tia said that she had found the jacket at a thrift store and she had made some customizations to it and whatever. And so she tells her this. And this artist is like, wow, you have really good style. Like, I'm so impressed. She's like, maybe you should make me one sometime. He's like, oh my God, I would love to. And this artist is like, okay, well, if you do, you can't find a thrifted jacket because you have to be really careful about whose energy you pick up on. And Tia just thinks she's being like Hollywood spiritual. So she's like, oh yeah, of course. And then she's like, okay, well, what's your name? And she's like, Tia. And she's like, what are you doing tonight? And so Tia tells her the whole story about how she's here with her friend. And she's like, okay, well, you should come hang out with me and my people. She's like, you have a really good energy about you. You're really pretty. So Tia kind of like motions to the new girls she's made friends with. She's like, oh, cool. Well, can they come? And the artist just looks at them and says, no. And those girls are really cool about it. They're like, no, girl, just go. It's fine. And this artist takes like the tip of her hair and pulls her through the crowd back to her tour bus. She said she wasn't like pulling it hard. It was like the same way that someone would hold your hand if they're leading you somewhere, but she was just leading her by the hair. But whatever, she goes on the tour bus with her. She spends like an hour with them and then her friend's calling her. She's like, hey, where are you? So she tells the artist, she's like, hey, can my friend come on your bus? Like she's done with her dude or whatever. And the artist is like, no outside energy allowed in. She's like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to go. It was like really nice to meet. And she's like, wait, like give me your phone number. So Tia exchanges numbers with this girl and then she goes and meets her friend and she's like, you will not believe what happened. She and her friend go back to her friend's house and she ends up spending the night at her friend's house. It was a really good night and she was really happy. So she falls asleep, but then she has this weird dream. In the dream, this artist is coming out of this like dark red pool of water, coming up toward her, grabbing her by the ends of the hair and saying, you belong to me now. It was like really scary. So she wakes up and she's like, what was that? She just thought it was her mind making things up. So she wakes up in the morning, she checks her phone. The artist had not texted her and she didn't have the artist's number. The artist had her number. Next day is normal. She doesn't hear from her. Another day goes by. And then on the third day, she gets a text from this artist. The text said, hey, it's so-and-so. You have really good energy. Do you want to come to this thing I'm doing? She's like, yeah, what are you thinking? She's like, well, I'm still in your city. I'm doing this brunch tomorrow morning. You can come. Like, also, if you bring me that jacket, I'll have my team send you some clothes in exchange. So Tia's like, cool, I can make another jacket. So she goes to the brunch in a private room at a nicer restaurant. It was an eclectic mix of people, but nobody that she recognized. And so when she gets there, this artist stands up from where she's sitting and she comes over and grabs her by the hair again and pulls her over into the open chair next to her. And then she introduces her to everyone as her best friend. And Tia looks around because she's like, is she talking about me? But this artist isn't laughing. She's not smiling. She's legitimately trying to pass off the fact that Tia is her best friend, even though they just met like 3 nights prior. The brunch was normal, whatever. And then she's like, well, what are you doing after this? And Tia's like, oh, I was just going to go home. And she's like, no, you should come back to my place with me. And she's like, you have a place in the city? And she's like, no, like, why don't you fly back to my city with me? She's like, oh, I don't think I can do that. Like, I have work. And she's like, well, call off. She's like, I can't. I have to pay bills. And she's like, don't worry about it. Like, just call off. I'll cover your bills for the week. Like, come back with me. And so she texts her friend and she's like, this girl is so weird. Like, she wants me to come back to her city with her. And her friend's like, you should go. So Tia calls off work for the week, flies back to this girl's city. The first night they're there, it's like really fun. Like, she's giving her all this stuff. They're having just like girls' time. This artist is telling her all these crazy stories. She goes to the guest room where she can sleep. She has her own bathroom. It's a really, really nice place. Everything is fine, I guess, in a really weird way. Then she woke up the next morning and she had the worst migraine of her life and a nosebleed. And she was like, I didn't take anything. Like, we were drinking, but like, I didn't take anything. She is in the bathroom trying to clean up her face, and this artist wakes up and she comes in her bathroom and she is just like staring at her. And Tia's like, oh, I have a nosebleed, blah, blah, blah. Like, I think it's from flying. And this artist is like, no, it's because you're one of us now. Doesn't crack a smile, nothing. And Tia's like, what are you talking about? This artist says something like, I knew I was right about your energy and this just proves it. She's like, come on, I'll get you cleaned up. And she helps her like clean it up. And then later on in that day, she tells her that she wants to do a ritual so that they can bond. You know what kind of ritual I'm talking about that involves like opening up your hand and then pressing your hands together with like a certain liquid coming out. You guys know I have to self-censor. It makes you sisters or brothers or whatever. She wants to do that.
Is she talking about blood ritual? They actually be doing that? People actually be doing that? Where you know, cut your hand, bleed a little bit, and then touch it with the other. Y'all be doing that? People actually be doing that?
And Tia's like, I don't think I want to do that. This girl's like, no, we have to do it. Like, it'll solidify our bond. She's like, you're basically my sister now. We're best friends. Like, you can literally have anything in this apartment. What do you want? Like, let's just do it. So Tia does it with her. Okay. And she's like, I know how this sounds, but like, also I was in the moment. I was having a good time. I really didn't think there was anything that serious about it. After they do it, this artist is like, cool, I have to show you something now. Like, now that we're bonded. Pulls her into another spare room in her house and she's like, look at this mirror. She's like, it's going to show you your true self. And it's basically like a black mirror. She said you could see your reflection, but it looked like glazed over, like almost like tinted. Tia said she just got weird vibes. Like, as she was looking at herself in the mirror, like something didn't feel right. She had another migraine. Her nose started bleeding again. And that's when she's like, gets the opportunity to step away. And she's like, oh, I have to go clean this up. She goes and cleans up her face and she just felt weird. So she tells this artist, like, I'm going to take a nap. Like, I don't feel well. And the artist is like, okay, let me know if you need anything. Like, do you want me to order some food? You know, just let me know if you need anything. So Tia's just laying in bed trying to make sense of this. She's like, I think I made a mistake. Like, I should not have come here. But she's like, how do I get out of the situation? Like, I'm here for another 5 days. So she's texting her friend. Her friend is like, just tell her that you have a family emergency and like, you need to come home. She goes back out into the main room of the house with this girl sitting and she's like, hey, I have a family emergency. I think I have to leave tomorrow. And the girl just looks at her and says, what's the emergency? She's like trying to think on her feet. She's like, I'm a bad liar. And she was like kind of stuttering. And this girl just says, you shouldn't lie to me, Tia. Like, we are blood sisters now. She's like, I'm going to know when you lie. And she said her eyes kind of changed. Like, she can't really explain it, but it was like this dark energy just came over her eyes. And she really didn't like the way that she was looking at her. So she just figures she's just going to have to like suck it up. And she just is like, comes clean. She's like, you know what? This is just really overwhelming. I'm not used to living this kind of lifestyle. And this girl's just like, no, don't worry about it. Like, we're going to have the best time. We're sisters now. Her face goes all serious again. She's like, and you're my best friend. Yes, during the next few days that she was staying at this girl's house, this girl tells her all about that she puts codes in her music. And those codes activate a certain kind of admiration in her fans toward her. And in return, her power grows. She explains to her that she practices what she just refers to as the dark arts. She's like, but it's fine because anybody that pays attention knows what I'm talking about. I'm literally telling them what I'm doing and they're okay with it. She wants to have these long conversations with Tia about what Tia really wants. She's like, what do you want? Like, we can make it happen. I can teach you how to do this. Anytime they were having a conversation like this, her migraines were out of control and she just could not. That it felt inherently like she was doing something wrong. So the week goes by, she flies home and she starts distancing herself from this woman because she's like, I got bad vibes. I don't care how famous she is. I don't care what she has, what she'd give me. I just didn't really want to be associated with her. That she was getting like controlling boyfriend or girlfriend vibes from this woman, even though she said she just wanted to be her friend. So she was responding to her texts and her calls at first, but then she started slowly like distancing herself. And I guess one night she's out and she just like forgets to respond to this woman, and this woman blows up her phone, is calling her, texting her, saying that you owe me, can't get away from me, you can't escape me, we're bonded now, Tia, things like that. So that freaked Tia out. She just didn't respond to it. And then a couple days later, she gets a package in the mail and it's her jacket, the one that she brought for this artist. Inside the jacket, there is a label that's sewed in and it says property of artist. No note or anything, but inside the jacket was what looked like some little chicken bones. She said it's been about 3 months. She has not responded to any texts or calls from this girl. She's blocked her number. But this artist is still getting obsessive friend energy, although she does post regularly on her socials with other girls. And Tia thinks that these girls are basically being used for the same purpose she was, whatever that was. She ended her email by saying that basically she wanted to share this story to be aware of what you're paying attention to, like what you're listening to. You may be giving someone energy. And also, she said if anybody thinks that she actually did accidentally bind herself to this person, how does she break that? Yeah, we'll be seeing the comments. Let her know if you have questions and keep sending me your spooky scary stories. I try to post almost every single day.
Okay. Somebody said Azalea Banks. Allegedly. Somebody said Azalea Banks. I mean, she said it was somebody. At first, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was kind of confused because she talks so fast, and I was trying to figure out what the heck is the actual story. But I guess, you know, two girls go to a concert. One of the girls is hooking up with one of the rappers. The other girl's talking to somebody else who's performing at the concert. This is somebody who's very famous, but not as famous as the most famous people, if that makes sense. And then the whole thing takes place where they do the weird blood ritual and all that type of stuff. Azalea Banks, okay. Somebody said Doja Cat. Somebody said take the celebrity out of it. People need to be very mindful of people who try to become fast friends with you. They never have good intentions. Sidebar, I wonder who the celebrity is. Somebody else said the Most High tried to warn her in that dream. A lot of people are saying this is Azalea Banks. The codes of admiration, Azalea Banks. I don't know who it is. Honestly, and like I said, and like I always say, this stuff doesn't surprise me. And unfortunately, when you have these individuals, no matter who it is, I don't know. And this is just operating out of the assumption that it's true. I don't know if it's true or not, but just operating out of the assumption that this story is true. These people, when they have this level of success, this level of fame, this level of fandom, like the people who are their fans, they would never admit this. The crazy ones probably would, but most of them would never admit this. But they worship these people. They worship these humans. They worship them. And I believe that these celebrities are receiving that worship. It's one thing for somebody to worship you. And just like it said in the book of Revelation, like, I forget exactly the verse, but essentially there was an angel who was receiving some sort of worship, and the angel said to, I think it was it John? I forget. I'm sorry. I'm tired. And the angel said, no, just like stand up. Like, essentially, don't worship me. Worship God and God alone. Right? There's one thing to receive worship. There's one thing for somebody to worship you. It's another thing for you to receive it. You can't control what people do and how people feel. Right? But once you start to receive it, as opposed to clarifying and letting people know that you are nothing to be worshiped, that you are no greater than they are, and that they should only worship God, right? A lot of these celebrities, they receive that worship. And just like Satan wanted to be worshiped like God, they start to develop this sort of sense that they are God-like. And that leads to all sorts of dangerous scenarios, spiritually dangerous, demonic scenarios, much like what we just heard. So it's not surprising. It's not surprising. Now I'm very curious who it is, but honestly, it doesn't matter because it could be any of the individuals who are in the industry at that level, you know? Anyway, Let me know what y'all think. But I think that is actually, that comment was actually spot on. Can I find it? I guess I X'd out of TikTok. Be careful who you befriend. That is very spot on. Be careful who you allow into your circle. Be careful. Because your circle oftentimes are the individuals who influence you the most. You can't just let any and everybody into your circle. It's one thing to be kind and to be generous and to be considerate of other people, right? It's another thing to allow somebody into your circle and begin to influence you, especially if that is not the right individual for you in that season of your life. I need to go to bed. Let me know what y'all think. Get in my comments, like this video. I'm out, y'all.